Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic podcast. And this is the show where we share cutting-edge strategies on acquiring leads and sales to acquire more customers for your business so you can achieve your vision. Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic podcast. This is your host, Ralph Burns, and the founder and CEO of Tier 11, alongside my awesome co-host,
Lauren E. Petrullo, founder of Mongoose Media.
That's right. And she is coming up on a birthday. Do you care to tell the audience how old you are?
How dare you? Why would you do
that? Why is everybody so worried about their age? It's like, whatever your age is, your age is. It's like, it's not, your age is in your head, not in your body, not in your, well, wait a second. Let me reverse that.
Remember, Ralph?
What's that?
I went to a Korean church for 3 years, okay? Yeah. The whole service was in Korean, everything. And you want to talk about why age matters? Have you met anyone from Korea? It's the first question out of their mouth because there's a different way that you greet someone and how you end your verbs based on if you are older or not. So it's a thing. Ugh.
It's a thing. Meaning what? Like yes. Older is more respectful?
Yeah. So you have a different ending. Like even how you say thank you. You can end in like, like it's just, there's so many different ways. Ita, you have yo, and then you just have it as like hello. So you could say like annyeong if someone's younger than you, and you can like almost say it colloquially or like disrespectful if they're older, versus like annyeonghaseyo. And then if you have like you're meeting political dignitaries and you have another version, it's a lot. So anyways, long story short,
it's a lot to think about.
Yeah, I'm getting older, but we're going to pretend that number doesn't change.
Well, that's all right. I'm sure you get lots of respect when you go into church, no matter how old you are. You're probably the only, I say you're like 6'2", but you're not really 6'2". You're 6'2", like with heels and a shock of blonde hair. You're probably the only one in the church that looks like the way that you do. I have to assume.
Oh my gosh. Wait, Ralph, you know what just happened? I did my stand-up routine, like literally just the other day.
We haven't even recorded since then. So there's so much to talk about in your personal life here on today's show.
Oh my gosh. I have uploaded onto YouTube. So it's
really?
there. And I talk about what I look like when I attend church.
Oh my God. All right. Well, that is definitely a link that we're going to leave in the show notes over Perpetual Traffic. Kevin, make sure if I forget, we put that one in. Is it searchable or did you like unlist it? You unlisted it. All right. We'll get the link for you. Anyway, that'll be great. I didn't even know. Oh, sorry. I did know, but we all wanted to like crash the party. Was it December 15th or
the 20th?
It was the 20th. Okay. Wow. So it has been a while since we've talked.
No, wait. No, it was the 15th.
I thought it was Hold the 15th. Yeah. See, I remember these things.
You were better at this than I was. I kind of like blacked out, so I don't remember.
All right. So bottom line, did you get any like, produce thrown at you because you were so bad, or was it a standing ovation, or was it somewhere in between?
Oh, I talk about a specific sexual act related to produce.
Really?
I do.
That's good. And you had the 5 minutes to do that?
It was 5 minutes. I took my time and did it in 8.
Really? You didn't get kicked off. So was it a good reception, like overall?
I got positive feedback. When I had gone out in the lobby to like grab some candy and celebrate, there were several people that walked out because they saw I had stepped out to say, great job.
Really?
And I didn't know who these humans were whatsoever.
That's pretty cool. Oh my God. We so have to put that in the show notes. Like you've got to show, like people need to see this. I think it's just, no, first off, I congratulate you for doing it. Cause that really is, I think that is the most challenging thing to do. You have no props. You have no musical instrument. You have nothing. It's just you and a microphone, like a chair and a glass of water. And that's it. You're totally bare. And you're expecting to do something that it's really hard it's hard to be funny. It really is. Because everyone has a different sense of humor too. So it's really, really challenging. You know what I mean?
I definitely know what you mean. I was like, I'm ready to throw up. And I should stop because Ralph, I'll say private things to you, like privately, not on this podcast of what was happening before I actually walked on stage.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I was given the chance to choose the music.
Yeah.
That I
Like your
wanted
walk-up
to.
song kind of thing as you walk
Yes,
up on stage? Yeah.
yes, I chose WAP.
WAP. Why WAP?
Because I was asked like 20 minutes before the show, what do you want as your theme song? And that was what I had just been listening to.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's some holes in this house. I was like, that's what I walked onto stage.
That's fabulous. All right, if you don't know what that song is, so we're gonna leave a link to that over to Spotify, which is it really loves us now. We just got a Spotify Wrapped. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, people can leave comments now on our Spotify episodes that we can respond to.
Yeah.
So if someone, we get good comments in the Telegram group, and like occasionally someone will send me an email or a text or like, especially on LinkedIn, feedback on certain episodes. But now with Spotify, you can engage and have a conversation about an episode.
Yeah. And they do video podcast now as well, which is very cool. So
very cool.
We're going to leave that over there because that's one of our least trafficked channel. Like we're 90 some odd percent Apple. And then Spotify is only like 5% maybe of our downloads. And then iHeartRadio, which apparently I heard this the other day. And plus I got like a pitch on email for like iHeartRadio to like, to advertise Tier 11 on iHeart. It's like more people listen to podcasts than everyone who listens on Spotify. I'm like, wait a second. Don't people on Spotify listen to podcasts too? Like that can't possibly be right. But anyway, so it's an interesting channel. So we're going to leave our Wrapped. If you don't listen to Spotify, like there's still people that listen to iTunes, which I find amazing because like you listen to Spotify, I have to assume.
I pay for Apple Music and Spotify.
Yeah. Like I always thought that Apple Music was the best, but it's like as soon as my kids turn me on to Spotify, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, their Spotify Wrapped hooks you. It's like, I need to know, where do I fit in? Which of my artists am I in the top 4% of listeners to?
It's fabulous. And now they do like an AI version. Like they did an AI version, like for us.
Oh,
we'll leave a link in the show notes for what they did for us. And it's smaller numbers, but it's really cool. It's all AI generated, but they actually do a radio broadcast for what you listen to for the entire year. It's so good. It was like amazing. You wouldn't even know it was actually AI, bots or whatever they are, as opposed to humans. It was really, really good. So anyway, Spotify, if you're listening over there, definitely leave us a review and a rating. And then you can, now, as of right now, you can leave comments, which is very, very cool. So, and we should figure out a way to get our video stuff over there. So that's another to-do list this year for Perpetual Traffic. We've got a lot of to-dos this year.
We'll put it on for next year. It'll be a 2025 to-do list.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's weeks away. It's so far away. It's only like a week away. So anyway, today we'd like to go back through what we've thought about and learn in 2024, but also we really want to give you an idea of what we think is going to happen in 2025. So 2025 is based upon the experience that we've had in 2024. So it's a little bit of a retrospective to a certain degree, but it's also what do we feel is coming on down the line now. So everybody does their projections, and you can like AI your predictions, on Google and find out what Gemini thinks. But I just actually did it, and they're really crappy. So we're going to use the ones that we actually thought up because we just think stuff up. And we're also seeing a lot. We're doing like over $200 million a year right now in spend. Like we're doing so much in advertising. So it's like we see a lot. We understand a lot. So as a result of that, I think we're in a fairly good position to be able to say, hey, these are the predictions because these are the trends that we're starting to see rise. And that's the beauty of doing the show every single week, is that this is actual stuff that works. So whether we're right or whether we're wrong would actually be a funny episode at the year end to say, how wrong were we in 2024? as we predicted in 2025.
Yeah, we'll keep a scorecard and just be like points, 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 and then who had the more right answers gets a free dinner.
Absolutely. So, and we don't necessarily agree on these. So there's a couple here that we've sort of done pre-record. We've talked through. I'm going to start off with the first one. First one, I mean, everyone's going to say AI.
Oh, yeah. If it's AI is not in your 2025 predictions.
AI is not in my 2025 predictions because AI is fused throughout, I think, all these predictions, but I'm not going to say it as a category is one of the predictions. Everyone knows it's going to be more. I actually think if we just talk about AI in general, let's not talk about that as a prediction, but I don't think AI will evolve quite as fast as you think it's going to evolve in 2025.
Correct.
You think there's actually going to be AI agents by the end of 25? I don't think.
No, I think it'll be AI agents by the end of Q1.
Really? I don't think so. I think it'll be year end before they're any useful. Because like so much of it is just cobbled together tools at this point. So I don't know as if the technology is progressing fast enough for it to be within a year, like actual AI agents. So like, let's clarify what AI agents are. We've done a number of shows on this, obviously this past year. So when you say AI agent, what exactly do you mean if this is the first time they've heard this?
For me, it's a secondary or tertiary task that's being handled by the AI agent. So it's not generating AI copy or creative. It's not taking generated AI copy and creative and posting it. It's using reasoning to deduct, generate ideas. Deduce. See, I knew there was a word.
There's a word in there. It was something with a D.
Find it.
To do.
Yeah. to deduce what to do based off of the data that has been provided, and then like using that type of predictive behavior and reasoning to then create tasks. So it's not just executing a task it's been told, it's generating tasks based off of the story and the data information that it's been built upon to then do the tasks in and of themselves.
All right.
So not an if this, then that, if this, then this, and why, and then if this, then that, and then.
So it's basically two tasks. You'll give it one task, and because of the result of that one task, then therefore it will do another task.
Yes, and more. It's and just the and then in perpetuity to an extent. Like I don't think it's going to go to the full on. It can do everything and anything. But I imagine that software engineers are going to be like entry level software engineers are going to be without a job within the next year and a half.
It's a tough field to be in. Actually, one of my youngest son's best friends was a software engineer in college, and he's like, "I'm thinking about going into marketing now."
Yeah, well, it's like that, and those with like language skills.
Yeah,
I mean that's really hard because you used to hire translators. Like you're not going to need a translator.
No.
In 2026. Like you don't hire a translator for your emails. You don't hire a translator for a lot of your components. You have translators for like medical knowledge and for legal stuff, but that's going to be going away as reasoning and hallucination becomes more and more efficient. So we don't have it with AI. But I think AI agents are going to be in use this quarter.
So when I think of AI agents,
commonly used.
Okay. So when I think of AI, so it's a definition of terms, I think. So when I think of AI agents, I think, okay, like agency owner, all right, I need to create ads for Facebook and they're in this demographic. And then you need to post them on all my socials, including Meta, and like it's and it's like a series. Like we wrote out 17 steps of how we use AI, and every single step involved a human between step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
Sure.
So when I think about agents, I think about them doing the entire thing, and that's like an agent for me. Now you're breaking it down, saying, "All right, if and it's if this then that." That is an
if
agent.
The ads are underperforming on Meta, then create copy and creative based off of the top performing ads while identifying what your competitors are currently doing.
Right.
Upload that, and then based off of the behavior, can we beat the original test? And then if so, create this report and tell me what you generated and its impact.
Oof, yeah. I don't think that's going to be possible by the end of the year. I think the first part of it will. I think there is... So it's a matter of like difference of how long it's actually how complex that can
Okay.
be. And in what,
But where's the complexity? Is it in the like building the scenario? Because you can build a scenario where you can output a report. So you can export a report on any channel.
sure.
And then if you can have that exported report get downloaded every single day, you can I use Make, right? People use Zapier or Pabbly. We tried that a couple years ago, I think, and it just ended up being like broke too much. But I do think it's emerging as a better webhook alternative to Zapier. Make is just like I pay nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So not sponsored by Make, but
Not
I'm a
sponsored
huge
by
fan.
Meg.
Yeah. So when you say you have that report that's generated, say you even send it to an email, you can have that report scheduled within Meta. So I'll just use Meta because obviously that's the space that I love and live in. Have a report that's sent every day based off of specific parameters. You send it to an inbox. That inbox, every time a new email gets done, you can have a scenario when email is read from this email address, Meta reports, then create a summary of action items that you would do based off of the KPIs and establish goals you set on the account based off of the report you got, based off of the account. What recommendations do you make? If the recommendation is this, then you can generate possible creative. The thing that I don't think currently exists right now, and if anyone that's listening has done this, like I'm making this scenario up based off of the limited knowledge that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So there are people way smarter than me that can come up further, but it's like, hey, create like in the analysts, like look at the last 90 days, which ad best perform, create for me 6 different alternatives that you can do, and then have copy that resonates. But what you can't do is publish back into Meta. So you have to have that human intervention. So for me, I think the AI agent is going to be that cross publication, but you're dependent on someone else's API.
Right.
So without stronger open APIs, you're limited with an agent's capacity can do.
So the number one thing that I have actually for trends in 2025 plays into this to a certain degree, because like what you're talking about, when I think about agents, I think about like beginning to end all the way through. Now, what you're talking about is a fragmented or a piece of that, which I don't disagree with, because I think the number one prediction that I have is automation and productivity for everyone in marketing. Like that is an absolute essential. So it's like we're looking at right now, like I look at our staff. I say, okay, we've got X amount of people that can handle X amount of workload. I'm telling everyone on my staff, it's like you should be able to handle 2 to 3x what you're doing right now by year end. Which means for me, like a productivity tool is like, what are you going to use in order to make yourself that much more productive? And a lot of it is not doing the things that are $5 work that they should be doing as $100 an hour or $50 an hour employees.
Yeah.
And that has to do with a lot of the things that you're talking about. An automation, using tools, make them more effective, use predictive modeling as opposed to just sitting there and looking at the thing all day long. Like you go into the ads manager and you're looking at it like, all right, what do I do next? There should
But you have to source it from other resources.
Right.
Like you have to understand not just living. I mean, we talk about it all the time. How many times have we brought up the MPIs?
Hundreds.
And the importance of not looking in only in app. If you don't take external factors into consideration, you're going to be living in a bubble. I mean, we're like a few weeks away from a change of leadership in the United States that is going to have drastical impact on marketing legislation. So like, again, those type of things, if you're just going to be living in this bubble, not taking external factors. I mean, I think, okay, well, I have a different prediction, but I won't. It's around fast marketing. But you keep going on the automations. I agree with you 100%. I'm like, I love what's coming.
Tools, better data, no longer lagging indicators. Like, well, so many people in marketing are all about the lagging indicators. You got to figure out what your leading indicators are. What is the leading indicator that's going to predict whether or not your ad works or your copy may work? Or like look at tools like that might be able to predict behavior or performance at a later date. I feel like that is going to be what a lot of media buyers, creatives, people that are in digital marketing are going to need to use those types of tools in 2025. And if you don't, you are screwed because you're going to be out of a job or somebody else is going to be able to do it and you won't be able to do it. Or, this is a way for you to elevate your game and look at some of those tools and to innovate and do things that maybe are a little bit riskier and try some things. Like there's plenty of tools. Like there's a new AI tool coming out like almost every second, for crying out loud.
For sure.
So it's like, how often can you take a step back and look at how can I make myself more productive, enhance my own ability to be able to increase my productivity using automation? And what we're talking about here is not necessarily, an AI agent soup to nuts, beginning to end, but using an AI agent in a part of a way or a job that you used to do manually or used to think and do and take more time doing. Like, when's the last time I've written? It's incredible to me, like what I've saved in legal fees just based upon AI in the last 6 months. It's like, I can't even, like, that is such a huge game changer for me. It's like we have revised contracts using AI and we've used individual tools. It's like that has saved me thousands of dollars. Hopefully my business attorney isn't listening to this, but it's like, that's the way to do things now. It's like, how can you use any sort of tool to enhance your own productivity, get more out of your day, stop working more, work less, use some of these tools to figure out a way to automate some of your processes. And I do believe that, a chunk of that is with AI agents, but it's not the whole thing quite yet. So
no, I think on that automation, I feel that the way that AI will be demanding that automations is the intersection of how you use AI with webhooks and automate those tasks. Like, I think that's what's going to be a non-negotiable come Q3. I think there's a 6-month period where people are going to be like, it's not the power of chat, not the power of GPT. It's where you put GPT with an automation.
Yeah.
So I agree with you 100% in that regards. And I think that like by Q3, it's going to be this like dividing piece where you say 2 to 3x productivity with AI. I would argue that it's like 6 to 7% is what I'm looking for, because a lot of those $5 and $50 tasks are time consuming. Like looking at data analysis, competitive research, that's exhausting.
Yeah. It used to
And you
take
get
like
to do
2
a time
weeks,
collapse.
for us to do like an avatar research. Now it's
At
like
least
2 hours, maybe. I mean, if you're maybe,
I mean, and
that's when
so
a lot of
you say 2 to
modifications.
3.
Yeah.
I'm challenging that number a lot, but I think what's going to be hard is that you're going to have new positions where one person is now doing 2, or I would argue 6 to 7 times more output than before, because the time that they now have given back to them through AI tools and automations, which you saying automations being brought to the forefront is the highest prediction.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you so much so. But I think there's going to be new positions we don't know about, which will be like AI auditors. I think there's going to be a position evolved that's going to be like, are your automations working? It's like the IT position of 2025, where I think someone's going to come in and be like, oh, my computer's broken. Oh, my AI isn't generating the output it's supposed to be. So I think there's going to be an evolution of that.
Yeah.
AI automation IT department.
Yeah. Entirely new job categories coming on down the line. It's fascinating.
AI janitors.
AI janitors. Yeah. Clean up on aisle 3 with an AI bot.
That was my first job ever. I was a custodial engineer, first job.
I worked in a factory in the basement of Denison Paper Supplies.
Oh my.
I went in there at 5 a.m. and left at 5 p.m. I didn't see the sun all day. That was my first job. Yeah, I know what it's like to be a factory worker. It was quite miserable. So anyway, so I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to go to college and make sure I don't do that. Anyway, if there's people out there that are listening that do that, it's a noble occupation. However, not for me. All right, so automation, we agree on that more or less. But I think it is like, if we could get 6 to 7x productivity, oh my God, I'd be thrilled. I'd be happy with 2 to 3x. I'm shooting low here. But anyway, the point is that that's a big one. All right, the next one, which I don't think we agree on here. I still think that influencers, I think the nano and micro influencer market is still untapped. I see it as, especially in the nano influencer market, which is basically those that are, if I'm not mistaken, it's between what, 1,000 and 10,000, like in the thousands. Those are
Yeah.
the types of people I find that are some of the best advocates, the best spokespeople for the products that we use. Like we have a database. We have an entire following of individuals, like 2,000 people, I believe. There's about 70 that we use on a regular basis, depending on what type of client it is, and then they create content for our customers. The point is like all of them are nano to micro influencers, and they promote to their list and to their following, but then we use that obviously for our content. We can advertise through their platforms and so forth. I
Yeah.
still think that is an untapped area that a lot of folks, they always go for like the mid or like the mega,
The K or the M's.
the big ones. And it's those markets, I believe, are tapped out. So it's like going smaller on influencers is where a lot of the growth, I really see it. You don't necessarily see it that way. I think there is an evolution of this
Yeah.
eventually going in the direction which may or may not be human created. So I can see that. I can't see it happening in 25 though.
Okay, so this is where, again, it's like when you can't see it happening for me. Like I already see it happening in the places. I just think it's going to become more pervasive. But I think where you disagree is that how pervasive. I think it's going to become much bigger deal. VTubers.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know what VTubers are, those are like faceless YouTube channels. And like there's this huge rock star from Japan that Hard Rock Japan licensed for more money than I would have been comfortable paying for their Sapporo Snow Festival several years ago. So this is an animated character that is a rock star that was licensed to be used. And so because it's an animated character, its license can show up anywhere. So you can have an influencer using through like R2D2 projection mapping show up in Japan and in Africa and in South America and in North America at the same time. So I think that AI created influencers, AI generated accounts will trump a lot of the influencer strategies that worked in 2024 and will work in 2025, because when you have an influencer created completely by AI, you have personalization to the extreme because they know it's AI. So the conversations you have are more specific and you're not held within the boundaries of a real person. And I think that there are a lot more AI generated avatars feigning as real people right now than you or I are going to be comfortable admitting to. It's extended into like the sexually explicit content category, where there are now AI generated OnlyFans accounts that are producing high figures per year. I think that's just going to become more and more popular because you don't have an AI that's getting canceled the way an authentic person does. But I'll agree with you that the micro and nano influencers will have stronger community to start. I just think people are going to have higher resonating personal relationships with AI generated influencers, which will have a bigger impact. I'm thinking like Scarlett Johansson, her level of personalization for AI is what will be in 2026. But I'm dead convinced that AI generated influencers are going to outperform real human influencers. And then in terms of the macro and micro influencers, I agree to an extent, but I think there's going to be a stronger presence of macro foreign influencers entering the US market as multicultural, multilingual marketing is going to become more apparent because the AI tools allow us to do a lot more. Like we're literally having a Spanish Perpetual Traffic YouTube channel where you can hear me and you, Ralph, speaking in super fluent Spanish.
Which we are going to do.
What is preventing those Spanish influencers
isn't that one of
from
your
penetrating
rocks for 2025, as I recall, our last strategy meeting?
Yeah, it is.
All right. Now, you are more exposed to the Asian market than I am. So I think you see these trends a little bit more so in some of the stuff that you're doing right now.
That's fair.
Can you actually see a Scarlett Johansson AI, video being, uh,
Yes.
imperceptible as Scarlett Johansson. So she's like, hey, I don't have to do all these videos. I just, they, they, there's plenty of tools that will take you or I, and we'll leave those links in the show notes, that
Yeah.
will allow you to create your own avatar. But everyone knows they're not really you. I mean, they're
Does
close.
everyone know?
They're close. They're getting
I will
close.
I will argue that a big trend for me in 2025 is going to be the ethical behavior behind AI, like YouTube, Meta, Google, Alphabet, Meta. A lot of these big parent companies are demanding. Canva does this really well. Watermarking any content that was created with AI. They are setting the trend, and I think stronger ethical behavior with AI and AI generated content is going to be a trend in 2025, because if it's not, what's going to happen is the politicians are going to clap back in such an aggressive way that it's going to be punitive to the small business owner. But going to your aspect of, will it be that personalized, will it be not as obvious, I yes, 100%. And I can just tell you behind the scenes stuff that we're doing with Mongoose Media is we have a course that we've been working on, and the limitations of me being physically present to film 3 days has been too much. Now the team is literally creating it entirely without me and just using my AI avatar. So like what you talked about, like that's common now. So what is going to come out in 3 months, 6 months from now? I think that's why AI influencers and AI accounts, where you're going to have that Scarlett Johansson, you're going to have a lot more intimate conversations with an influencer that's fake than with someone who's human.
Any tools you want to divulge that you might feel are good ones for the listeners?
So we did a lot of testing. I can just speak to this. Like if you look at the Perpetual Traffic Espanol channel and stuff like that, like we're using HeyGen. We tested 15 different tools in trying to identify which would be the best one. HeyGen was the only one that had dubbing where it controlled mouth movement. But even then, like it's not even in like the best, what a perfect world would look like. But oh my gosh, we tested a lot, and this is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. If they'd like to provide a discounted channel platform for me, I'll take it all day long. But we tested a lot. It's definitely not the cheapest solution, but because of the dubbing with the mouth, that was just one we were using. We use 11 Labs. There's a lot of common tools. There's lots of alternative ones. If anyone reaches out in the Telegram group, I'll exclusively save this for the Telegram conversations. I will give you the full list of the different tools that we tried that were more inferior to tools that we're using. But I also don't believe that the tool that will work the best in 2025 has been released yet.
Yeah. I think Synesthesia.io is coming along. Like that's the one that we've used in the past. And I think it's just since, I think it came out right around the first of this year, late last year. And it was impressive right to start. And then we actually used it. And then we did do Spanish dubbing with it for one YouTube show. Or one actual Perpetual Traffic show on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw it with you and Casa.
Yeah, we'll have to leave that for you guys because it's kind of funny because it's the same. We didn't go too crazy on it because the same Spanish voices for both of us, so it's kind of confusing. But the point is yeah, I can see it coming. I just, how good is it going to be? Yeah.
I think you need the human, though, to qualify it. So
Right.
We're really lucky. I have team members in Latin America and in the US where Spanish is their first language. So we have a level of vetting that is happening.
Just to make sure that it's correct. Yeah.
100%. Because I can tell you the first time that we were testing it, so using the Shopify episode was our like we literally just launched this. And so using the Shopify one, my name, Petrullo, sounds like petrified in Spanish.
Really?
So we have to go in and make those edits.
Yeah, isn't that the Italian definition? No, it's not.
That's funny. But yeah, so there's like small things, and like you need to make sure that Yeah, we're just not at the space where an ideal future AI agent could be you are someone who's QAing what was generated from that podcast to find and identify any spaces or language gaps that occur in that translation. So imagine you have an AI generated Spanish episode of Perpetual Traffic that an AI agent then evaluates, hey, what are the pieces in which it's correctly or incorrectly using Spanish?
Yeah.
And then it sends it back versus I have someone who has to watch each episode in entirety and catch that stuff. So that's where I see an AI agent. And then it identifies the spaces and then it tells the AI to fix itself. So they're having a conversation without me being in the room, which is what you want as a business owner for your team members. Like we've
100%.
used gather.town as a tool for our virtual office. And I remember like looking, it's like a video game play. I could see my team members walking over to each other's desks because that's how the video happens. It's not like Slack Huddle or Google. I could see them talking. Like you see the bubbles going over their heads. And I would see people meeting in our virtual office rooms having a full on conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh, I'm so proud because you get that in a physical environment, but in a remote international team, you don't know how much they're connecting.
Right.
So I know I'm going way off subject to that degree, but going back to the AI influencers, going back to the power of AI assistants, validating your automations, contradicting your micro influencer strategy, because I've seen it internationally. I think it's coming and it's coming hard for the US market. So I think macro influencers in the US are going to get defeated by micro influencers all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they're going to be more defeated by macro influencers in other demographics with small influencers locally. But they're going to come with more efficiency in their systems.
Mm.
And then greater value of quality because they've already shown and proven their content abroad. They're just now exposing it to a different demographic.
Well, we'll have to see by the end of 2025. So
Game on,
yeah,
Ralph.
game on, baby. All right. So the next one is search, not just on Google anymore. Now, obviously, like for the SEOs that are out there, we are not SEOs. We outsource that stuff. So how you actually, SEO the keywords that you're trying to optimize for in the AI environment right now with the chat GPT, like it's Google, obviously, is the auto-generated AI answer to your question, which I am finding very, very useful, by the way. However, for this episode, it was completely useless. But the point is, because I just wanted to see what AI would actually generate, digital marketing trends for 2025.
Okay.
And it was just a bunch of gobbledygook. But anyway, my point is like we've had TikTok on here. We have had, obviously, we've talked to Meta plenty of times. We talked to Shopify this past year. Like so much of where a lot of the platforms are going just in general, especially in the ad platforms, Meta. I mean, the Meta AI tool for search is really good. I don't know how much you've used it. TikTok obviously is tremendous. We have the final show of them just coming up in a week or so.
I think like next week.
Yeah, next week. The point is like the new search is not necessarily Google. And especially if you're going after the younger demographic. And if you've been resisting this, and if you have kids, watch how they use these platforms. They do not Google anymore. They don't. I mean, they do occasionally. If they do, it's like it's a Hey Siri.
Their Google is YouTube.
Their Google is YouTube. Their Google is TikTok. Their Google is Snapchat to a certain degree. It's all these other platforms. So search is everywhere now. It's blurred the lines between Google and the search engines because that's where, especially the younger demographic, and I see that sort of bleeding into the older demographics. And I'm talking about like under 25, like Gen Z, going into like the millennials and then above. I see that as a huge trend in 2025. Agree, disagree?
I agree. And I yes and you, because you mentioned it, touched it briefly, which was on voice search. I think that we have integrated smart homes. So you're not just asking your phone anymore. You could be asking your dishwasher, dish related, kitchen related searching type of things. You're talking into your remote for your TV, right? I don't type on YouTube on my remote anymore. I've become so voice search dependent
Totally.
when it relates to voice. So I would just say, you say search isn't just Google, it's everywhere. I'm saying yes, and it's on additional devices so that the search is not going to be exclusive to texting.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot more voice dependent. And then you go into those extremes of ages. The older generation and the most youngest generation are more voice search dependent than those in between.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, with the older demographic constantly growing and the younger demographic constantly replenishing, I think that like with the younger demographic being so much more voice search dependent, that's going to continue. I don't see it as such as strong in 2025 as I do in the next 2 to 3 years. But yeah, search isn't just Google. I agree with you 1,000%. And when you talked about the search within the social apps, I think that's a further extension of the apps growing beyond what they're trying to do. And the only way that they're going to compete against emerging social media tools is by becoming their own ecosystem in and of itself.
Yeah. So I've seen this firsthand, and my kids who are in their 20s like using Instagram as a search tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like trying to find other channels per se. Like when I search on Instagram, I'm finding other, I'm finding other content, not necessarily looking for answers. They're using it to find answers to stuff, which I find fascinating. And like TikTok is all about that. You bring up a really good point on connected TV. It's like this in combination with voice search, like search is become like so integrated into what we're doing. Like I can't remember the last time I searched on my connected TV when I'm watching YouTube, or I actually typed in like, the A and then got out the keyboard. It's always like the voice thing. It's like,
yeah,
it's like, that's how we all search
that's
now.
T9 for those that are old enough to know what T9 is, where you had to click the 3 button 4 times to get to the E.
God, that's
or whatever.
I
like
forgot
twice
what
to get
that
to E.
means. Yeah.
So
Can
I
you
assume that
imagine?
like going on a remote to like, or even like a game controller.
Remember on
Because
your
I think like,
phone where you had to like your 2 was like you had to click it 3 times to get to A, B, C. Do you remember that?
yeah.
Or was that the 2? No, I'm sorry, that was the 1, and then 2 is like
Was it? I feel like whatever. The
DEF,
point is
whatever.
that like people now that they're gonna be like, what do you mean you're using your remote to spell out on a keyboard and go click, 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 click. Like that's obnoxious. You just do it with AI, and like now we have a full keyboard. You use it with your thumbs.
Yeah.
So I think the smart devices, I would just say one more piece of even expansion, which I haven't seen, but you talking about how like search is so dependent within Meta, using Instagram. I mean, when I travel somewhere, I'm only using Instagram to find local services. Like I literally don't use Google. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to get a hair and makeup done, if I'm going to do a photo shoot somewhere, I'm only looking at Instagram because I know Google is littered with ads.
Yeah.
And it's overstocked. And I know a lot of the best personal services or like local businesses have terrible Google results. So I'm going on Instagram because they're going to be more prolific there.
Good.
But I think what is going to creep up is greater instances of games. So Minecraft, I think Minecraft and Roblox will expand to have their own search categories.
Yeah.
Because they're just becoming these ecosystems. So I think gaming in general, Meta's done a lot in the gaming space that they haven't talked a lot about in the past few years. I think just like with what Twitch is doing, I think some of these gaming platforms are going to emerge by the end of 2025 as channels in which you can advertise on and channels in which will be used for decentralized search engines.
When you're looking for answers now, it's not a Google search. It could be, hey, Google, it could be, hey, Siri. Like I use Hey Siri all the time. Although on my phone, Hey Siri really isn't that great. But on the 16, like one of my kids just got the 16. I was like, oh my God, it's so good. So,
and I bet you it's the worst it's going to be. Like, I think we're going to look at the end of a year from now and just be like, I can't believe we settled
Yeah.
for the level of Siri and Alexa and every other. Maybe there's going to be a guy. Maybe there's going to be like a Jose that's going to come out and be like, okay,
Jose needs to take over
enough
the
with
market.
these.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Enough with these other people.
Yeah, I think this is fun, and the way it's evolving, 100%. It's integrated in across all your Apple devices. And so I think when it becomes the intersection of other devices, like I want to find out who convinced TV remotes to add the Netflix and Prime Video buttons and YouTube buttons to remotes. I want to meet that person.
Yeah, that's pretty
because
sick.
what they are like, what's the next iteration? Is it like adding your Alexa, adding your Siri to your smart TV devices so that you also have that directly on the remote? Where can you have that marketing brand representation in non-traditional devices that have that connection? So it's like, will Siri be added to TV remotes?
Well, I sort of feel like maybe it already has to a certain degree. It's like on my Netflix, I mentioned, what was it the other day? I mentioned some show in my phone, and then all of a sudden, as soon as I went on Netflix, and it wasn't like a new movie, I forget which one it was now, but it showed up as stuff you might like. It was like the first
I'm assuming
one.
it's 50 Shades of Grey.
It was 50 Shades of Grey, of course.
Yes.
Like, you know me and Jen, you know how we roll. The point is, it's like all of it is, everyone's like, oh yeah, my device is listening. It's like, well, yeah, your device is listening, or Meta is listening, or Netflix is listening. Like, they're not technically listening. They're just buying the data from the company that is listening. So it's just, so when they say, when you ask Meta, like, are you listening on my phone? They're going to say no every single time. But the point is
not.
they are.
But they're accessing the data that is.
They're accessing the data that is.
Because it's fair play.
Right.
Well, that becomes, so that's again, that 2025, my prediction is like ethical behavior from both AI generated stuff and data related stuff, I think is going to become a bigger, but I also believe that's related to the new presidential power that's coming in.
That is true. I think that's why it didn't make my list, because I'm not sure how much regulation is actually going to happen. However, one of his advisors is, pro. Even Sam Altman is pro governmental intervention because he knows it's coming. He might as well get ahead of it, right?
Yeah,
100%. Question is if he who shall not be named is advised by Elon Musk, and whether Elon Musk does it, we're not really sure at this point. So anyway, moving along, the next step, we actually do have data and privacy. Maybe that's like the next one we should talk about here. So I think data and privacy, I think zero-party data is going to be a big one this coming year. I think obviously capturing first-party data, you have to get good data. And more data is going to be obfuscated in 2025, 100%. I've said this a couple of times on the show. 42% of Americans are covered by some sort of privacy law right now. That will increase, probably double to 60 to 70, maybe even 80%.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a prediction.
I think that is coming. There's no question about it. So I think that unto itself is a trend. However, what are you going to do about your data? So, and not to get into a sales pitch, we just so happen to have a solution for that, which ends around that because it's first-party data. We capture the first-party data. As long as it's first-party data, you're capturing it, but you're not getting it from another source. We then use it and then own it. And as a result of that, it is first-party data. So it can be used for optimization of ads. It can be used for reporting. It can be used for all the things that are being obfuscated right now and lifting the veil on all those unknowns and all the direct and unattributed traffic. The point is like you need a solution for that in 2025. And how are you going to do it? You can do it. We got Tier 11 Data Suite, which is fine. But what do people do? I think your solution is, and we've done a lot of shows on this, is zero-party data, which basically means they're entering their data and then you're owning it. And through polls, through surveys, through quizzes, through lead gen ads, through all of that stuff, like that, I think is a key way. Post-purchase surveys as well. Like if you're getting blocked, at the origin server, and there's not much you can do about it at the browser level, what are you going to do to capture that data so that it is yours? We refer to that as zero-party data. I see that as something that's big on the rise in 2025. Agree? Disagree?
I agree 100%. You know how I feel about leads being horseshit, and I don't want dumpster trash leads wasting time in my CRM. So I think the enrichment of existing data is critical. I think we're well past the day of name, number, email. Is it good enough of a lead? Like, no, I need to know your astrological sign, right? I need to know your birthday. I need to know your mother's trauma that she's gone through, essentially. Like, I think that zero party data, I agree, is so critical. And I think there's just going to be CRM enrichment as a category. I think there are going to be consultants that are going to come out specifically on this as like a whole new category of where are there identified opportunities in which you can capture more first party data to your existing people, because you're not going after new anymore. You're going after current, and of those current, how are they going to get you new? So you're going to like force your first party, zero party individuals to become your advocates in a more robust way. So the caution I have is that, go ahead.
Oh, so you're saying, let me just make sure I understand. Is that you're saying the more data that you capture in order to get the good lead that has 5 or 6 or 7 pieces of information, maybe 3 or 4, depending on what it is, then you're feeding that back to the algorithm to find more people that will actually give you that zero party data. Is that how I'm interpreting it, or no?
Yes, and because the way you feed data back into the algorithm, I think is something that 99% of accounts are doing wrong. But I think it's also that like your existing base of customers and prospects are going to become your advocates for your brand or service. So I think where the personalized messaging is going to come into really play, like I put that as its own category in 2025, because if you're collecting this data, like my word of caution is, if you're collecting all this data, you're enriching your customer's profile, and you do nothing with it, what was the point? Oh my gosh, you just wasted your time and their time, and now I don't like you.
Right.
It's like you ghosted me is the equivalent I would equate that to. You ask me for my birthday and then you don't send me a birthday message. Rude. You ask me what's my preferred.
That's awfully rude of you.
Well, I mean, my birthday is just around the corner, Ralph. So I'm expecting free Chick-fil-A, free Dunkin' Donuts. I want all of the businesses that I have given money to send me a birthday message with a free item, or I will be like, how dare you?
Just don't expect anything from me. I'm not very good with birthday gifts. But anyway.
You are a gift.
Oh,
being your co-host is the best.
That's it. Gift. Every week it's like we're just gifting each other. Regifting? No, I don't know. Yeah, absolutely. I think the zero party data is super important, but if you do nothing with it, like what are you thinking?
It's what a waste. Yeah. But I do expect in 2025 more companies to come up of like email marketers, lifecycle marketing. It's not going to be about sending the email. It's going to be enriching the profile. And what are you getting from the email? It's not I'm going to send this to you and hope something happens. I'm going to send this to you and I demand this expectation back, or I'm going to delist you as a qualified lead. But I think there's going to be companies that are going to become more available to getting that first zero party data like in email, so that you can send surveys, send quizzes, not just on socials, but omni-channel, and then have it all fed back into it. So I think there's going to be greater enrichments of your current advertising efforts. I imagine that Facebook and Google Ads will have more interactive components to it, where my assumption is within Q2, Q3, Meta is going to have a component of your ad, which is like, hey, you haven't converted yet, but do you want to keep seeing more stuff? They're going to be waterfalling out content. Like imagine you have a company like Perpetual Traffic that has a new podcast episode every week, and you're having people subscribe to your ads.
Yep.
Where it's like, I want to see in my news feed every new piece of content, new to cap on frequency, new piece of content. Like, yeah, I want to see it, and here's the frequency in which I want to subscribe to it. I think that that's going to happen as well for that continued enrichment of that zero party data or first party data.
So a related and sort of overarching theme of what we're talking about in this trend here is really is personalization.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. Like, it's like, this is how all right. So it's related to, okay, privacy. There's going to be more privacy issues. There's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
the cookie degradation is an issue. Ad blockers are an issue. ATT prompts,
Yes.
all this privacy stuff, new compliance regulations coming on down the line. That's all well and good. However, if you personalize your marketing by actually capturing first party data, you're actually making yourself into a better marketer as a result of something that you might be fearful of. So, in a
Yeah.
way, it's kind of a blessing.
Yeah, it's, I mean, for you especially, because you guys have your data state, which is amazing. And like every brand needs a database solution for sure. And there really are very few products out there. I'm biased because I've seen and have heard more about your product than anyone else's, and I've looked at other ones. But I think there's also like the opportunity to have that personalization, leveraging the data is much more simple than has been in years past because of AI. And I think will become even simpler as AI agents and AI assistants become more and more advanced and robust.
Yeah. You can personalize it, but also you can aggregate it and separate it and analyze and then
Yeah.
create different buckets of avatar using AI
Yes.
from that data. Because if you're just capturing it and doing nothing with it, it doesn't really help you all that much.
Imagine a world where you send out a blast email marketing campaign. Let's say I'm like, what's near me? And you sell, oh, no, I can't lift that up. You sell fancy pens and markers, right?
Mhm.
Whiteboard eraser markers. And then you have 200 replies. You have an AI assistant that's engaging in these people left and right. And then at the end of your day, of the 200 conversations that have gone back and forth, an AI assistant then sends you a report. The common themes of all 200 messages today were aligned on this, 10% of which brought up the upcoming New Year's Eve or New Year's Day celebrations, or 10% talked about how they're actually looking forward to Persian New Year or Lunar New Year. I would recommend that we tag those people and send them more personalized Lunar and Persian or Thai New Year greetings on those dates because that came up in the conversations. Do you approve, owner? Your answer is yes. Then the AI can go back in as an AI agent and then do the appropriate tagging, draft up an email to send automatically based off of those
Yeah,
conversations.
that's awesome. So the next one I feel, agree or disagree, is the rise of even more AR and VR, augmented reality, virtual
Mm.
reality. We're starting to see it already. We're seeing it in like the Home Depot app. For crying out loud. If Home Depot is doing it, then everybody's doing it. Well, everybody should be doing it, or at least thinking about doing it. I've seen it with Sephora. I've seen it with IKEA. We have a customer who I can't say is in the health and beauty niche is starting to do it, looking at VR tools. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is really cool stuff. Like look at some of Sephora's ads. Like we should probably leave some links in the show notes for them. Virtual try-ons. Like how
Yeah.
cool is that? Like I'm amazed at Sephora. I had never been into a Sephora until I think a year ago
Mm-hmm.
when we were shopping for my niece, like 13, 14-year old. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the best checkout line I've ever seen. Cause I'm standing in line and there's all these, like teeny, preteen, like teenage girls all around. And they're all just like grabbing all the little samples and just like, oh my God, this one's only like 79 cents. This one, I'm like, that's your free sample, baby. That's like, that looks good on you. That lipstick, that makeup, whatever it is, that blush. I don't even know anything about makeup. The point is, but
You're
we,
doing
we
great.
sell a lot of it actually at Tier 11. The point is like, oh my God, this is such a great model. And a buddy of mine through one of these CEO groups that I belong to, he builds all the Sephoras nationwide. He says,
Okay.
we are backlogged for like the next 5 years because Sephora
Wow.
has just taken off. But if they
Mm.
get you in with like the low price, sample it in line as you're checking out, the prices are good. And then they have this online, virtual try on or virtual. Yeah, I think that's virtual try
Yeah, it's
on.
virtual try on.
It's insane. Warby Parker did this first. I think they're the first ones I ever saw that did this with glasses. It's like the virtual try on. But I see that not just being the stuff of the multi-billion-dollar corporations, but that becoming more and more available to the small to mid-sized business. And it's a game changer because it's like it makes the buying experience that much easier.
What's next? Like, it's an accessory. I mean, granted, I was a part of a meta committee for global innovations and emerging technologies where we got to do a lot of this. And there was like 7 of us in the US, 14 total internationally. Like, so 7 US, 7 abroad, where I got to meet like innovators, game changers in that space.
Yeah.
And for sure, like I was looking at for Asian beauty essentials to see if we could bring it in, and it was just such an expensive investment to do the try on because you do the mapping. I was at an e-commerce conference in Milan last year, talking to many other representatives of what they're looking at to do the try on. Those investments generally start at $300,000.
Yeah.
So it's not something a lot of small and medium-sized businesses can invest in. So I agree with you that that's going to become more and more cost effective. But I think it's also going to become an expectation. It's going to be like, oh, wait, what? I can't try it. How am I supposed to trust and know if this is going to work for me? I think the augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality space is going to have a lot more traction because I think consumers are going to demand experiential shopping. But when you were telling me about Sephora, I was like imagining a world where you walk in and based on the permissions you provide your phone, and then based off of imagine like a company that creates these 2 bots that can pick up your logins and it like identifies you as a user when you walk through with your phone device. If you give Sephora that permission, then imagine you walk in and then Sephora has a personalized shopping assistant that looks at the last 25,000. No, let's not. That's too much. Let's look at the last 250 influencers videos you watched, makeup tutorials on YouTube, those channels, and then creates a shopping list for you that says like, hey, you looked at Jadora Beauty, hey, you looked at Asian Beauty Essentials, hey, you were like the content that you've watched. I've now analyzed all the content you've consumed that you've given positive triggers for. Here's a personalized list, and actually I can help walk you through the store. Here's a map and you can go check it. We have 3 available. So you, by walking into the store, you can now have a conversation with a personalized attendant that is then saying, hey, add a person that says, would you like interaction? Because I think we're going to have more and more introverts because we've lost that like blockbuster conversation type of stuff. So people are going to be like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to shop. I want to pick up. I'm going to bring the friends that I trust, but I'll have an app available to me where it's like, yes, please bring me a personal person. I am opting in to be talked to versus what happens at like the Macy's of the world. We're instantly harassed with perfume.
Right.
Oh, try this perfume. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
So you're saying like taking the ad world experience, like this is basically what happens on TikTok and Instagram and everything else. Like as soon as you know, we all know this about the algorithms. You're saying taking that out of the ad platform, you know, or the social platform world and creating
you walk
that
into the doors,
the physical world.
Yeah. That's the permission-based marketing that's going to happen versus like you're like, oh, I'm on the app. I don't want to see the ads, but like, I'm not paying for the account. Well, it's like, oh, I'm in the store. I don't want to see the ads, but it's going to be a hidden. It's going to be subterfuge because it's leveraging all the data. If you have Instagram, like I envision, if you have Instagram open in the background on your app, that's fair play. So whatever devices can pick up and consume all of the data that's being fed through the air and all the electronics, like wear your tinfoil hats, John Moran. Like that stuff is going to be super available and that you're going to want it because it's relevant. It's relevant to you. Sephora to know which influencers, which videos I'm watching, because then they'll know what I want to buy. I just watched this video. Don't have me figure out how to pronounce Charlotte Tilbury. Don't have me try to mispronounce a Japanese brand. You already know. Take my data. Give me what I want faster for a more relevant experience. And then you can have the opportunity, like how Netflix or even like YouTube right now is giving you a For You page, a discovery page. You get to have the discovery, but people aren't going to discover new brands until they found first what they're looking for. And if I can find what I'm looking for faster, I'm going to be open to trying something against it versus I've already spent an hour in the store. I don't want to spend any more time.
Yeah.
That's where I think
so
it's going to
more
go.
Efficient offline shopping as a result of using data that you've already fed into, you know, social platforms.
Yeah. for an experience which will get me to not shop online. In order to shop online, I'm going to demand a mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality situation. As you said, try on before you buy, because I'm pale.
You
A
are.
color that looks good on me does not look good on my melatonin friends. Like there's this one specific color that we have. It's called cocoa nude. You want to know what I look like if I were to have anemia? There you go.
Cocoa
Try
nude.
this on.
Cocoa
But
nude
I
would be it.
have like, oh my gosh, I have a friend from Guyana. She puts it on and she looks like a superstar,
Wow.
like 1,000%. I'm like, why doesn't this look good? I was like, I know, because I am pale AF. So regardless, I think online experience is going to demand that component, and I think in-store experience is going to demand experiential on both sides. It's an experiential, multi-device environment that's going to adapt to how consumers are. Anyways, we're wearing technology. I've got the Whoop on. People also wear Aura rings. We're 1 to 4 years away from contacts replacing smartphones. Like there's just so much wearable technology
It's just a
that's
matter of
going
time.
to be, yeah. But I think big brands are going to be able to afford it, and that it's going to make the smaller, like the stuff that's been around for 5 years, the try before you buy stuff, is going to become more available to small and mid markets,
Right.
while the bigger brands are going to invest heavily into the stuff that's not obtainable right now.
So as you're walking into a Sephora, you get geofenced in essence, but you've given permission to be geofenced, which is basically a trigger, like a local trigger that then activates some kind of notification, which then would trigger somebody in the store to come to you as a personal shopper,
and maybe
or
you
whatever
have to
happens
have
be.
the Sephora app.
Right.
That maybe, like you said, that 42% you think that more people are going to be protected. I agree. More people are going to become protected, but I think there's going to be actually a lot more data available.
Right.
I think that by the end of the year, people are going to have access to more data than they do now, despite the laws contradicting it. I just think there's going to be better ways to leverage and legally get what they need. But imagine if you go into Chick-fil-A and you have the Chick-fil-A app. If you have the Chick-fil-A app on your phone, it lights up the triggers, so you have an app match. Right.
Yeah.
So I go in, they already know how many times I visited. I don't have to scan a receipt. I don't have to do anything. I'm already there. And the closest I can make it akin to is if you've been at Disney and you have worn the magic bands. By wearing the magic band and physically being in the park, you have then given permission that any ride you are on, if they take a picture, it's automatically sent to your device, which is then available on your My Disney experience on the phone. So you don't have to carry a camera anymore. You don't need a camera, because everywhere you go while wearing the magic band, all of the pictures are sending here, which then send to your phone. So that technology already exists in that capacity. And magic bands that technology was like, it won awards in 2014, but had existed for years before that. It's just Disney made it more popularized. So I can see that coming in the next year or two for bigger brands in a shopping experience. Sorry, I'm like making this all up because of you talking about Sephora. So if anyone finds this crazy, sorry.
Isn't it so funny how, we're going to get on to the last one here in just a second. Isn't it so funny how people are so concerned with privacy, or privacy is a big trigger, but people still want customized experiences?
Well,
or personalized experience. Like you don't, but you do. It's like, if you don't get it, then you feel like you're being ignored. But if you don't have it, it's like everyone now knows, hey, I'm watching all the, like, I was at my niece's yesterday. She just had a baby. She's like, my Instagram is full of baby stuff. I'm like, yeah. Like, she's in digital advertising. Like, she understands. She's like, it doesn't bother me though. She has a different worldview. She's not like, oh my God, I can't believe Instagram is following me. It's like, well, and then I see all these things that I should be getting.
Yeah.
But then the flip side of it is like, she's getting all this advice from a gazillion different people on how to raise her daughter who's like 3 months old.
Yeah.
So there's that. So it's like, there's one or the other. It's like, you can't have it both ways. You're going to have some things you don't want, but what do you give up in order to get what you really want, which is ultimately to have a more personalized experience, which is kind of what we're talking about here overall as an overarching, not necessarily methodology, but an overall theme in everything that we're talking about here. And it's all enabled by AI algorithms, data. So moving on to the last one, I think this is one which we've covered here a lot, especially we're going to be covering this, I think, in our final episode with TikTok, is shopping in-app. And I'm seeing this more and more. I don't see it quite as much because I don't shop on the apps. However, when my wife is scrolling, I'm like, you know that little dot that's on that dress that you see inside your Instagram feed? She's like, what's that? Like, click on it. She's like, oh, I knew that. I'm like, do you buy anything on that? She's like, yeah, all the time. So, but in app, like TikTok, obviously, we've got TikTok shops, which we'll be talking about in just a few days here. Instagram, Facebook shops. I think that stuff is just, that is going to be a trend that's going to continue to move forward. I think it's taken a
Yeah.
while to gain momentum because it's been hard to plug the feed in. There's been challenges with it. My sense is that Meta understands, and having been to 3 Meta conferences this past year, they realize it's the next frontier, and also solves a lot of the privacy issues in the ATT prompt stuff,
It
especially on
does.
Apple
When you own
devices.
the ecosystem, you
100%.
own the rules.
You make the rules. Exactly.
Yeah, it's you pay to play, and by entering, like, it's your ticket of admission. The cost of admission of using an app is then that you can supersede some of these other components.
Yeah. Anything more to add on that? We know, or are we just going to leave that for the TikTok folks when they come?
Look, you know how much I love shops. I think it was like the second time I was ever on this. I was like, oh, do you guys understand you can do Instagram shops? And at that time, it was like you could spend 4 minutes, set up your shop. And if you had it, it was like we had a client, we spent 4 hours and they made $40,000 a month. That's all it took, 4 hours of work for them to start making $40,000 a month. Now more brands are getting to it. Like, it became a bigger deal during the pandemic. I just think that in-app shops are just going to get even better because they've been around for so long. I think that, like, the elements of like live shopping, I think true group couponing. So this is something that's big in Asia that I have yet to see anywhere in the US. Live shopping I see happen all the time in the US.
Yeah.
There's that one famous Douyin influencer, which is TikTok. It's in China, where she's like just passing stuff off. She has like 5 coordinated employees where she's just trying stuff on and doing like tens of thousands of dollars of sales a second.
Insane.
But I think where shops are now, they're great for a seamless experience, but I don't think they're actually elevated experiences. So I think live shopping, live Q&A, Instagram did this really well where you could have filtered questions and answers on products. Amazon does this well where you can have pieces, like, especially when you have like Amazon live influencers and the stuff that's coordinated to there. With Instagram, you can use product photos. Your shops aren't using the photos you took in a white box. They're using the photos from people that tagged your product so that it's a better integrated system, because you want to see, oh, someone look, I'm wearing, here's me in my cocoa nude. Don't wear it if you are pale and blonde. It will not look good on you unless you just happen to be the exception. So I think we're in 2025. Those are going to become more natively adopted, but I think there's going to be more enhancements. And the group couponing component is where after you have live shopping, you have live buying. So it requires live shopping first and more like paying attention to the moment. But imagine a world where it's like, hey guys, I am going to sell you this can of San Pellegrino.
Mm-hmm.
Normally it's $4.99. If you come up to me at the cart with 4 others, I'll give it to you for $2.99. Or maybe it's like, if I can get 600 people to buy this in the next 30 seconds, count down, see the number of people buying it, I will cut the price in half and I will refund everyone 50%.
Yeah.
So that you then have cooperative buying power. And you're like, Ralph, oh my gosh, I'm buying 6 cans of the San Pellegrino. You have to try it, please. It's going to be 50% off if you buy it with me now. So I am now recruiting other people so that I can get the savings while passing on what I would recommend to them anyways. I see that maybe entering at the end of 2024, but I think shops need to improve a little bit, if I'm being honest.
So for those who are listening who don't know what live shopping is, because I don't think we've ever talked about it here, I think we will put a link in the show notes. Your first episode on Perpetual Traffic, as you did come on and talk about in-app, just to say that you did talk about this like 2 years ago. It was like almost 2 years ago. So what is live shopping for those who have never experienced it or don't know what it is?
It's like QVC, but on social media. So like you watch people that are doing live events. So it's like Gary Vee is talking about it even more lately.
Yeah.
So he's really strong on that. Like if you have a retail store Monday through Thursday, you have no foot traffic. So what you then should change your store into is a content room. So if you have product, you now then will, I think this is going to become a job, like a prominent job
Yeah.
in 2025
For
is
sure.
going to be like, to me, that's the new intern. Like people are already hiring college kids to take social media content. No. This is the new position. You're going to go in, you're going to show the stores. There's merchandising in your store where you're displaying all the products. So it attracts people with foot traffic.
Yep.
Now there's going to be online merchandising, and instead of foot traffic, it's going to be live traffic. So you're going to go live on Instagram, go live on Facebook, go live on TikTok, and you're going to be selling the products. And if you can add in a level of urgency where it's like, if you tune in, you'll have people that are going to do essentially Black Fridays
Right.
every Friday, because you're going to be like,
Or,
when we're live,
you know,
a mystery
say
product's going to be free.
something specific, like, you know, use coupon code IG25, you know, when you come into the store.
I think AIs make it faster that you won't have to do codes, because like at least with AI assistance, if you use a code, if anyone that's listening to this has like a ManyChat or some sort of chat bot that they've built and they're using a code, oh my God, you caveman, you. That's so embarrassing. Every time there are huge influencers. Vivian, too, I'm calling you out. Your rich BFF, her whole channel is set up on keyword dependencies. I'm like, oh my God, it's like you're using Zach Morris's phone from Saved by the Bell. Like it's so much more modern.
Nice reference, by the way.
So people won't have to use a coupon code by essence of buying in app while live. You'll be able to apply a cross application discount.
Yeah.
So you won't have to do all these extra stuff. It'll be a more frictionless experience. But you'll be selling something. If you add a sense of urgency to it, you can do anyone that buys in this hour, I'm going to add an extra 12 pack of San Pellegrino into your order. I think it's just that shops are going to become pretty standard, continue to grow, continue to be a competitor to Walmart and Amazon.com. But I think there's a demand that the experience get better because it's a little antiquated, if I'm being honest.
Right. So it'll evolve over time, but the growth of it will...
It better.
Yeah. I mean, the uptick has not been, I think, what the platforms have expected. So I just feel like there is going to be an increased push here in 2025. Very, very good insight. So just to recap here, the big predictions, we kind of morphed a few of these. Obviously, AI sort of in everything that we talked about here. But we talked about
it's everything. Everything is now spelled
everything. Automation, AI agents. We talked about AI influencers and the rise of micro influencers, but also nano influencers potentially. We didn't necessarily agree on that one, but we came pretty close. Search is everywhere, not just Google, even on your connected TV. You know, it's everywhere. And making sure that you are positioning yourself in the right way for that. Next, we talked about personalization, data, and some of the privacy issues that you need to do with zero-party data. After that, we hit on AR and VR and virtual try-ons, VTOs, as they're called in the vernacular of today's kids.
Oh, I didn't know that.
As well as in-app and live shopping. I think we covered a lot of trends here. We'll have to see how we do at the end of 2025 and if we were right at all. But I think a lot of this is coming. If it doesn't come 100%, these are the trends that we're seeing right now. And these are the trends that you got to watch out for and plan for 2025 for more change, because nothing in this industry ever stays the same now, does it? Lauren E. Petrullo, MBA. Which, by the way, my kids are like, why does she put MBA in her LinkedIn all the time? Doesn't she? Yeah, she's smarter than you, Dad. That's what they told me. They had a lot of time, this past week as we were prepping for vacation. So anyway, they're out of school.
If they were engaging with my LinkedIn content at all, and to anyone that's listening that engages with my LinkedIn content, one, thank you. Two, I have come to learn that anyone who's engaged, I just become flooded of their wall every time someone logs in and they've commented or liked something. It's just like Lauren's next post. I've been posting consistently 5 to 6 days a week. That like friends are like, you're the only post I see.
That's right. You're everywhere in LinkedIn. That is. All right. Well, we will leave links in the show notes here today. There's a lot of stuff. I got a long list of stuff that we're going to put in the show notes over at perpetualtraffic.com. Most importantly, we're going to find that YouTube video of you live on stage. You're going to have to send that to it because I'm not going to be able to find it
for
somewhere.
my birthday, people better be nice on those comments if
right.
you end up watching it.
Be nice
if you don't,
to Lauren Petrullo, MBA.
Just tell me I'm funnier than Qasim. That's
Well,
the entire
come on.
purpose of me signing up to do stand-up.
Qasim who? I forget who you're talking about. I forget who he was. Who was he in?
It's still 2024. We can love and like him and remember him.
All right, in 25.
But next week, I don't
forget
know.
him. Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. All right. Well, make sure that you subscribe and leave comments and over on Spotify if you're listening on Spotify, which you can now do, and give us a rating. We're gonna have to do a couple more shout-outs. We got a couple more ratings actually this past week, which is actually pretty cool. So we'll read those out here on the
We should read the comment. The next comment we see on any Spotify episode, we will read.
So comment on Spotify. I'm not sure exactly how to set up my notifications so I see them, but I will figure that out between now and the next episode. Of course, all links and show notes are over at perpetualtraffic.com, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. So on behalf of my awesome co-host, Lauren E. Petrullo, MBA.
That'd be... Well, if you're going to do my full name, you have to do like blonde girl on computer emoji, Lauren E. Petrullo.
Oh, that's right. There is. I know. We'll leave a link to that.
Do you know why I do that? I know we're supposed to be wrapping the episode, but like,
yeah, this is what people really want to know. Yeah.
It's the most important gift I could give anyone. Start your 2025, put an emoji before your name. Do you know how much spam I get from LinkedIn and how many spam emails I get? Because people get my information from LinkedIn, they scrape it.
Yeah.
Anytime I see someone's hi blonde emoji in front of a computer or hi like unidentifiable image Lauren Petrullo, I'm like, oh, you didn't even take a moment to delete the emoji. Watch me delete your rear end that quick.
That's right.
It has saved me so much time, Ralph.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually. Blonde girl with computer emoji. So you've got is that a feature of the premium LinkedIn profile or no?
No, I just made it my name. My name is blonde girl emoji Lauren.
That's pretty good. I will say I have been doing the premium LinkedIn. We get a lot of link clicks direct from my posts over to the tier 11 site. So that's a little bit of a hack there.
Can we do that as a future episode? Yeah. Tell me more about your LinkedIn premium experience. Because I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to use it or not.
It has been pretty good. I mean, I think it's $25 a month. Which is actually a lot for just a couple of link clicks, but you know, it is the business. So, and you get a couple of more things with it. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a future episode.
Please do, because I want to know if it's worth it.
Yeah, so far it is. I'm not canceling it. Plus our social media.
Oh my gosh, that's the name of the next episode. LinkedIn Premium canceled.
All right. Well, that is this week's show. So on behalf of my awesome co-host, Lauren Petrullo.
Ciao and Happy New Year.
Until next show, see ya.